It's May 2023 and I'm on the Nordlandsbanen from Bodø to Trondheim, about to pass through Mo i Rana. I'm now below the Arctic Circle and 1,700 kilometres into my 3,000 kilometre overland journey down the length of Norway, from Kirkenes of the Barents Sea to Kristiansand on the southern coast. Whilst Mo i Rana is still 500 kilometres from Trondheim, it marks a key point in the journey, as from here on down, the settlements start getting larger, and a train that up until that point had been quite empty slowly started to fill with people, as we left the empty lands the far north of Norway behind us. Having taken 3.5 days to travel across the whole of the length of Troms Finnmark County, the most northern of Norway's 11 counties, with only overnight stops, we were now halfway down the length of Nordland in under 3 days, and 2 of those had been spent in Bodø. At Munkholmen, we briefly rung alongside the Fjord as we enter town and then turn inland away from the fjords and coasts and into the interior of Norway, dotted with lakes and traversed by fast-flowing waters. Two hours after departing Mo i Rana, we cross county border number 2 and enter Trondheim, another 170 kilometres down and slowly closing in on our destination for the night in Trondheim. The waters of Snæstvatnet, Norway's 6th largest lake, also mark a point where, for a while, the railway and E6 road part company again, with a road travelling around the north bank whilst the train makes the journey round the south bank, confirming once again that the right-hand side of the train heading south is the side to be on for the views. 8 hours after departing Bodø, the train stops in Stavanger, the northern extremity of a regional rail service from Trondheim, and from here, for the final hour and 3/4, we become the fast train, no longer stopping at every station, 22 stops down, 20 stations to go, but only stopping at 4 of them. Stavanger is also a major moment, as it's here we meet the Beitstadfjorden, the innermost arm of Norway's 3rd largest fjord, the Trondheim Fjord. The waters will now be following in various guises all the way down to, fittingly, Norway's 3rd largest city. More evidence of our approaching arrival into significantly more densely populated civilization than we've been living in for the previous week was made clear 30 minutes later as we sped through Oslo Station, passing a northbound evening commuter train. And from here, the waters that we now follow are those for Trondheim's fjord proper. Swinging round the sweeping curves and crossing over rivers emptying into the fjord. Before finally, 9 hours 46 minutes after parting Bodø, and on time to the minute, our train comes to a halt in Trondheim station. The following morning we had a couple of hours to spare before we continued the journey south, so we took the opportunity to head out of the fjord itself with a morning visit to the Munkholmen, a fortified islet just offshore of Trondheim protecting the harbour. The islet has a long and at times grisly past, serving as a place of execution, a prison and a World War II anti-aircraft gun station, as well as stints as both a fortress and a monastery. And it's from that last use the island gets its modern name. By the early 12th century, the Benedictine monks of Nidarholm Abbey were living on the island and remained doing so through multiple fires that destroyed the monastery, only finally giving up after a third devastating fire in 1531. By the time Lutheranism arrived in Trondheim at the end of the decade, the monastery buildings had already fallen into decay. Construction of a fort on the island began in 1658, being completed in just 3 years, and for much of the following time serving a dual purpose as defensive fortification and state prison for society's rejects. The fort remained in operation until 1893, but was pressed back into service by the Nazis following their invasion of Norway, being turned into anti-aircraft station. Today, the fort is a popular place of residents of Trondheim to visit, with grill and barbecue areas set up on the foreshore that locals can sail out to on their own boats and use. During summer months, boats shuttle back and forth between the island and the centre of town, with a small cafe being available inside the fort. From the front of the fortress and from the top of its walls, there are excellent views back across the waters of the Trondheim fjord to the city itself, with the spire of Nidaros Cathedral dominating the skyline. It's also a great location to get a different view of the Harbour and ferry, leaving harbour on its own long journey to either Bergen or Kirkenes. Back at Trondheim station, and time for the penultimate leg of the journey south, and the last one by train. Due to engineering works when we were travelling, this was the only day train running, but normally there are 5 services in each direction during the day, plus an overnight sleeper operating the Dovrebanen. And unlike the Nordlandsbanen, south of Trondheim, the trains are electric, but the seats were still as comfortable and the windows just as wide to take in the stunning views from our 584-kilometre journey south. It's instantly noticeable that the land is becoming much greener down here. The barren lands of northern Norway, where fishermen would brave 1,000-kilometre sail down to Bergen to trade their fish for grain and flour, have been replaced by rolling green pastures. Though that doesn't mean that Norway has finished off showing its natural beauty yet, as the next section of the journey from Børkak to Dombås is about to get interesting. From Børkak at 450 metres above sea level, over the next 83 kilometres, we'll climb to a summit of 1,024 metres before descending back down to Dombås at 659 metres in just 40 kilometres, crossing over another county boundary and ending in Overland. We're temporarily held outside Dombås for a couple of minutes whilst a regional train enters the station before us, which we then pass pulling in. Dombås is also the point where today we pass the only other northbound service. Leaving Dombås, we continue descending down towards the town of Dovre, which gives its name to the line. Soon, along with our friend the E6 that we've been shadowing for so long, we're joined by another utterly unpronounceable river, one that will follow down the remainder of its course to the town of Lillehammer. At Lillehammer, the river empties into Mjøsa, Norway's largest lake of 117 kilometres long, and at its widest point, 15 kilometres wide. It's also pretty deep, with the lowest point being 453 metres below the surface. Lillehammer was the site of the 1994 Winter Olympics, a fact gleaned from Wikipedia while sat on the train, temporarily evoking an existential crisis and realisation that time really is marching on. If you'd asked me before I'd looked it up, I would have put it well into the first decade of the 21st century. The journey down the Mjøsa also sparks another major milestone on our journey. We cross from Innlandet County into Viken, and shortly afterwards we'll be in Oslo County. Where it had taken us over 3 days to cross just one county in the far north, we've now picked off 4 counties in under 7 hours. The railway line picks its way through extensive modernisation works, crossing the point where the Mjøsa Lake becomes the Vorma River, before being routed onto the tracks to take us into the station under Oslo Airport, and then on into the heart of the Norwegian capital. Arrival into Oslo was on time, but it's only an overnight pit stop in the capital, as there's still 321 kilometres to go. The following morning, and it's back on the bus. Confusingly, we're on a very comfy double-deck express coach run by Vy, the Norwegian national rail operator. The franchise to run the trains on the line between Oslo and Kristiansand haven't been awarded to Go-Ahead, the Tyneside bus operator who, and you wouldn't believe this if you've ever used their trains in the UK, are currently replacing all their trains with rail replacement buses due to long-term engineering works. So in summary, the rail company is running buses and the bus company should be running trains, but instead they're running buses as well. All good? The main outcome is the final leg of the journey is by road rather than by rail. But it's still a stunning journey. No longer along the E6, it's the E18 all the way. A road of split personalities. Here, a wide multi-lane motorway taking the most direct route through strings of tunnels and bridges. But further on, where the road is still to be upgraded, a quiet, winding road. 40 minutes after leaving Oslo and back in Viken County, we stop in the town of Drammen after a dramatic arrival over the Drammen River just as it empties into the Drammen Fjord. I think I'm starting to get the handle on the Norwegian naming conventions. Soon after, we cross over Viken County into our penultimate and shortest traversed county of the trip, Vestfold og Telemark. We'll be out of here in less than 2 hours, but in that time we experience both sides of the E18's nature. From the impressive arrival into Larvik through tunnels and under bridges, to its narrow winding routes through the hills, turning off the motorway into small towns like Skelsvik, running through, at times, terrifying two-way tunnels, and witnessing the upgrading of the road as we pass mile upon mile of upgrade works, including more tunnels, some clearly cutting kilometres off the existing winding road. In places with one tunnel already dug and the road rerouted in both directions through it, the second bore being prepared to double capacity and make the existing tunnel one way once it's completed. With naturally the Norwegian signature long tunnel straight onto an elegant high bridge and straight back into a tunnel. Tangen is the last stop in Vestfold og Telemark, and after rejoining the E18, we quickly cross the final county border and enter Agder. From here, it's just 90 minutes of travel time to go, as the road signs counting down the distance to Kristiansand fall themselves into double digits. Whilst there's still cliffs and hills, rivers and fjords, the southern end of Norway is so much lusher. Broadleaf trees, grass, pastures and forests in stark contrast to the, at times, barren landscape of that first bus 9 days and 3,000 kilometres ago up in Kirkenes. For the final 7 kilometres and our arrival into Kristiansand, the Norwegian engineers have outdone themselves with tunnels, bridges and even road junctions within tunnels. Kristiansand, the 5th largest city in Norway, capital of Agder and of the Norwegian Riviera, is a pleasant seaside resort town and clearly a popular holiday destination for Norwegians staying at home. The city was founded by Christian IV on the 5th of July 1641, though given the climate and geographical position, there's evidence of human settlement going back at least 8,000 years. The current cathedral is on the site of an earlier church that was built here just 4 years after the founding of the city. The first cathedral opened in 1696 but only survived 38 years before burning down in 1734. A new cathedral went up within 4 years, but it too succumbed to a fire that affected much of the city in December 1880. The current building was consecrated in 1885, though parts of the tower only date from repairs carried out after Nazi shelling damaged part of it in 1940. Along with the bus, and when it's open, rail links to Oslo, the city also connects by rail further along the coast to Stavanger and has a large harbour with international ferries to Hirtshals in Denmark and Emershaven in the Netherlands. As with any good seaside town, there's an extensive promenade that runs along the waterfront between the small Kristiansand beach and the larger and more popular Bystranda beach, passing by sculptures, fountains and a small boat harbour. There's also a small fortress, the Chrsitansholm Festning, looking very similar to Trondheim's Munkholmen, albeit on the mainland rather than in an island in the fjord. Built in 1672, the fortress was in use for just 200 years until it was decommissioned by royal decree as part of a major redevelopment of fortifications across the nation in 1872. The fortress only saw battle once, when it was attacked by the British fleet during the Napoleonic Wars. Today, the site is owned by the local government and used for recreation and taking the views out to the sea from the ramparts. Kristiansand marks the end of our journey, 3,000 kilometres from that starting point in the Barents Sea in Kirkenes. 1,277 kilometres, 16 hours and 36 minutes by train. 1,723 kilometres, 32 hours and 11 minutes by bus, through 8 of Norway's 11 counties. From the 24-hour bright sunlight of the far north, through the pouring rain of Nordland, to finally a pleasant evening's twilight in the main square of Kristiansand, it's been a journey of beauty and wonder, both natural and man-made. So let's finish on a high and watch the sun set on this trip the following evening from the roof of Oslo Opera House. Tusen takk, Norge. Tusen takk.